Well, hi guys, hope you're all keeping safe and well. Things are not looking good at the moment, but you know, we'll get through it. While I'm waiting for some parts for my little Yamaha YZ, I thought I'd give you a little chat about the DWA. Most of you who've been to bikes for a long while, like myself, will know what this is, Italian DWA. Now this came out around about 86, I believe, and you know, I think it wasn't actually the first IC bike out, but it was the first kind of quarter scale, you know, before we went to fifths and stuff like that. And you know, it got in the model car magazines and stuff like that, and I think it was quite a good performer. Now, I had one back in the 80s. I managed to buy one very cheap from a model shop second hand. It needed a little bit of work, but not a lot. And I built it, and like a fool, I never run it. I kind of, you know, put it on the shelf, and I was messing about with other things at the time. And my boy was racing buggies and stuff like that. Well, one of my boys was. And he wanted a new Yokomo, you know, and I traded the bike in for a Yokomo buggy for him, YZ10, and that was that, you know. And he did say to me when he was little that when he grows up he would buy me another one, but obviously these bikes are quite expensive now and hard to find, you know. And I managed to find this one on eBay. It was probably about 2 years ago, something like that. And it was in reasonable condition, you know. I had to strip it all down, and I put a new piston liner, sort of Pico in it, 21. You know, but it was all sort of there, and luckily enough, I had some bodywork left from years ago in a box. So I have actually got a box for it. I meant to bring it down to show the picture because it's a very cool sort of box. But anyway, this is the Commando, and it is, you know, a nice bit of kit. Now there's lots of stories about this bike. If I just take the bodywork off, if you can see, we've got a hinge. Yes, these came with Pendulum Forks, or the swinging forks. Now, you know as well as I do that Pendulum Forks are not really good for sort of quick steering and stuff like that. They're ever so stable, and you know, that's how the bike came. And you had two servos. If you see this, there's a gap here. You had two servos that went in that way. So you had two kind of like 1/4/8 or something a bit more powerful. And there's there's a little, what can you call it? There's like a little two-piece in there, like a slot. And the servo had like a cam on it, and each one would work with the other, you know, because it was quite a lot of force, centrifugal force, and it would bring the forks backwards and forwards. Now, you know, there's a lot of weight, a lot of extra stuff in there, and, you know, well, apparently there was a guy called Ken Harper, and I got a friend, Vic Francis, from many years ago, and he sent me some info. Len Harper actually went to a bike meeting in Europe back in the day, and he said that one of the guys, the factory drivers, I think it was Jens Jorgensen, Roland Traddy, they actually had a direct steer bike, and it was running rings around everybody else. I think it was like Americans, and the Americans were actually changing their bikes, trying to get it into direct steer at the trackside to try and compete with the factory drivers, you know, of DWA. Now it's quite an interesting story there, you know, that they're sort of saying that DWA, Jens Jorgensen or Roland Traddy were the first ones to sort of invent the direct steer, which you see is on my bike now. Because back in the day, the original one that I had twin servos in it, and the guy in the shop said to me, oh, you want to change it to this setup? And he showed me how the wheel steered one way and the bike went the other way. And, you know, I never ever thought it would work. But I took the bike out just for a little run round, and it did work. That's before I actually sold it. I did give it one little run, that's right. And that was at Donington Park, that's right. I went to a race meeting there. I just run it up and down. And I was only driving it slow, but it was very stable. And the direct steer did work it. And I put it on a scratch built bike that I've got as well, which I might do a little video on. But, you know, this bike kind of evolved through the 80s, you know. I don't know what, you know, I don't know what sort of happened to them. I know they made a lot of quarter scale cars as well. And I think I have seen some videos of these bikes racing around, and they do go well because you've got a 21 in them, you know. And I was lucky enough to get a new rear tyre from a friend of mine, Kay. And that's super grippy new tyre on the rear. The front one's a little bit, you know, it's a bit hard, but I think it'd be okay. Now, as you can see, we've got like a monoshock front end on here, which sort of works up and down like that. You know, it's a sort of basic kind of thing, you know, but it works okay. I think these come in two forms. You had one with the damper and the disc brake. If you can see the disc brake. I think the standard one would only just come with the rear brake on the lay shaft there. So you had the disc brake on there, which I should imagine is really good. But then you bought the Pro version, or whatever you want to call it, back in the day, and it came with the disc brake. Now, the disc brake would work off a servo, like joined up to here. It would come from here and would go through this hole here, and it would be linked up. So you'd have a piece coming off of there, another piece of wire, and it would pull the servo through there and onto the front brake. Well, you know, that's a bit fiddly and a bit sort of messing around. So I've changed the bike to direct steer by putting the servo in the top there, like you can see that's in there. So we've got, I mean, DWA did actually have two. They had one on each side, which I might go down that route. I'm not sure yet, but I'm sure it will be okay with one, like all the modern bikes. No, most of them have one. I decided to put a small servo down here. So I've got like a 3-channel servo or radio receiver. So I can run this independent of the throttle. So I can adjust the front brake independent of the throttle settings, which I always like to do that because you can ramp it up and down on your transmitter. You know, and this was built. This is for like side exhaust, but I also done the model for a rear exhaust. I can't find the exhaust at the moment, but it came out sort of from the rear, and it was like a rubber, and it came right up here, up, and it went in that hole there. Obviously, it looks much nicer and much neater with a tube, flexible tube on there, and it keeps all the exhaust inside. So that's what I kind of aim for. The engine is a Pico 21, like a buggy engine. I've rebuilt it. It's got new bearings. I managed to get a piston and liner for it. I'm not sure if this silicone joiner here is going to hold up. I might have to make something else for it. I don't know. But the other thing we've got is a tank. It's like a kind of quick release tank. You see it drops down and you can fill it. Oh, that's good. Can you see that better? Yeah. So this tank, the actual stopper is there. So you just fill it up and then you just click that on there like that. So you had like a quick change, fill up, put it back on the stopper, and away you went. So that was done. Now, that was all well and good, but apparently the tanks used to leak like a sieve around the seal there, and people made different tanks and different types of things. But as you can see, it's a good thing for a race bike to come in and be able to change that so quick. You know, it's a really quick, just click, bang, or fill it up, put it back, and away you go. But you're going to get oil leaking all over your rear tyre or fuel, which can't do it, you know, a lot of good for the handling. But if you can see my direct steer, where are you? Right, that's my direct steer on the forks. You can see the pendulum that was on there, and you can also see a little slot I was telling you about there, where the two servos worked in there with a ball race in there, and they worked together and they moved the pendulum forks, as you say, like a pendulum. But you know, it's not, you know, they do steer okay with sort of pendulum, but it doesn't give you that sharp steering and that turn that we kind of like. So we're going to go direct steering. I've had all the radio in it, but because I restored this probably, I would say 2 years ago, and I've not run it. Because I restored this 2 years ago, I've robbed the receiver out of it and the battery, as you do. You know, you're hunting around for something, you think, oh, just take that out of there. So, as I'm getting back into my bikes at the moment, I thought, I'll dig it out again, get the dust off it, and have a little chat about it. Because they are kind of a sort of collectible thing. You know, I'm still debating what sort of colours to paint it. I want to go kind of retro, you know, like Italian kind of colours, something like that. But I'm not sure yet. I've seen some colour schemes. I mean, it's kind of, I'm lucky I have got original like Basher fairing for it. But you know, it's a strange looking thing. I have actually seen a Ducati that my friend Kay sent me, a picture of a Ducati, and it's very similar to that shape, and it's got a sort of number that covers up the windscreen, it's sort of black, and I'm still really not sure what colour to do it. I also made this stand because you could buy this stand. I think it was quite expensive back in the day, but I've got some measurements. My friend Kay sent me through a couple of pictures and things, so I actually thought I'd have a go at making one. So I bought some alley stock and stuff like that. And I built a sort of, it's not exactly the same, you know, it's just a copy of what we had. I managed to sort of get this, you can see a switch there, it's kind of quite a retro off and on old fashioned type switch. We've got the glow, which you used to just stick on a glow there. This goes onto my battery. I've got a little 12 volt battery, and I've got the meter on there, so when you plug it in you can see you've got high amp, low amp, and you know, so you can see if the plug's okay and everything. And I tried it, and although I haven't started the engine because I don't want to put any fuel through it yet, it works really well. And it's just a copy of, you know, the original one. The original one would have looked something like that. So I've just copied it as best I can. So I will get out and run this. I don't know whether this year, but as soon as I get it painted, I've got a rider for it. I forgot to bring it down. As usual, I'm not prepared. And it's not very nice. It's the usual, the rider was thought of as the last thing, you know, it's just a plastic suit and a yellow polycarbonate crash helmet, but it's, you know, it's okay for what it is. The bike is the thing, and I should imagine it's going to go like a rocket, you know, with that buggy engine in. I'm really sort of looking forward to running it, but I don't want to break anything on it because it'd be impossible to get bits and pieces for it. You know, I've got searches on eBay and hardly anything ever turns up. So anyway, that is the quarter scale DWA. Now, in the background there, oh, you can see two bikes. One is my ARX, which is kind of one of my favourite bikes. Although I sort of love them all. Let's bring this over. Now, you all know the ARX, been around a long while. Sadly, they've gone bust or they've disappeared. You can get, I've just put a new tyre on there, that's the X-Rider tyre, which you can still get, you know, the tyres for, and they're not that expensive. So You know, I've had this one years, and I had lots of trouble with the gyro, the mechanical gyro when I first had it. And in the end, I put an electric gyro in it, and I still had lots of trouble with it not running properly and stuff like that. But I gradually got it sorted, and I've got like 2 wheels. I've got 2 gyro wheels, 2 electric ones. So I've got one that it can do supermoto, and I've got 2 slicks, you know, front and back. And I've got this one where I do off-road. And, you know, it's a lovely, it's a real good thing to drive. You know, the electric gyro works really well on this. They come with like an oil rear damper, you know, which works superb. But they don't come with front dampers. Well, so I've kind of made my own dampers here. What I've actually done is I've threaded like buggy shocks in the top there, and then I've connected the rod, 3mm rod, into the forks. So as they go up, you can see they're blue there. That is the top of the oil chamber. So really it's just like a buggy fork inside there that's screwed in, and the 3mm shaft goes into the extensions at the bottom here. So you get a really nice, you know, I'm pressing that, and that's you know, they're both going up together, and it's a beautiful thing to watch, because it just glides over the whatever bumps you put there, and you can see the front wheel going up and down, you know, working like overtime, as is the rear, you know, and it is a nice thing, you know, a really nice thing. The other thing with these is I made the alley steering blocks in here, because they tend to break off. The thing with it is, when you run them on grass with that back tyre like that, it's got so much power, because I run it on 3S, and I've got a little Li-ion battery for the gyro. Now, they have so much power on 3S, they just wheelie all the time, and they go end over end, you know, quite a lot. That's why I made up that wheelie bar on the back. That's actually bolted to an aluminium frame I've made inside. Can you see that? This is all alley that I put inside here, because I was fed up with breaking the back of the bike off. So what I've done over the last couple of months is I've made myself like a wheelie control with a helicopter gyro. So I've got the gyro on the throttle channel, so when the bike lifts up, it cuts the power. So as that goes up, it cuts the power, and as it comes back down again, it puts the power back on. So as soon as it, you know, decides to go wallop up like that, the power stops straight away, and it comes back down again, because no matter how fast you are on the transmitter, you can never stop it, because it just comes up when you don't realise it. But it's almost like the rider in the bike. Now I've got a gyro in it. As soon as that comes up, it just cuts the power, and you can sort of wheelie it for, you know, like, I reckon I can wheelie it for about 20 yards. It just stays up, you know. It's a little bit of a knack, but it's so much better. I sort of plug it in the back here. I've got 2 settings, so you can plug one in for the wheelie control, and you can take it out if you don't want it, because the wheelie control is kind of really good in a straight line, but it does kind of mess it up a bit when it drops over. It kind of stutters a little bit, off and on, off and on. But if you'll do like big sort of curves, and you know, it saves the bike. It saves so much damage, because it will just wheelie, and it'll come up, you know, come up really high, and it'll just carry on going and going and going. So that's, you know, a great thing. I just put that's an X-Rider back tyre on it, and I've rolled the chain up because I haven't used it for ages. So we're going flying tomorrow, and I've heard that it's 18-mile-an-hour wind. So if it can't fly, I'm going to run a few of me bikes around on my toys. Now the why I said 250. I've done a little bit more to it. Hang on, I'll get that in focus. Right, I've done a little bit more to this. Not a lot, because I'm busy doing other bits and bobs. Yeah, my friend of mine is making me a seat. He's going to copy the one I made out of cardboard, make it out of alley, so I can put that on the top. Now, I thought to myself, I can't go. Remember that big piece on the front here was like a machine gun to to steer the bike. Again, Pendulum Forks. And I thought, I don't really want to run Pendulum Forks, so this is what I've done so far with it. That is going to be my steering, and it's so easy because in this hole here, that goes right through to the shaft. So all you've got to do is just put a little grub screw in there and just give it a little lock up, and it locks the steering up. It's so easy, you know. It's like it's almost been made for it. So that there is going to go up. I've got two little high-tech servos, and I'm sure that's going to be enough power to do that. It wouldn't be enough power to turn the, you know, the big pendulum thingy that went on there. I mean, it was so hard to press. That's why I had to run, you know, big forks, big servos rather. So that's where I am with that. So that is going to be bent up. When I get the seat back, I'm going to bend that up into there, and it's going to have two springs each side, and that is going to be my steering. So we're going to have direct steer on it. Now this one, this servo here, is going to be for the brakes. And they've got, this works really easy, and it's really strong, this back brake. You know, it's hardly no pressure on it to actually lock that back wheel. So again, I've got a nice cable that I can run down there and put onto this cam here to run the rear brake. So, you know, it's kind of almost the radio. I've got a little Spectrum receiver which can go in there under the seat. So I've got that little package there, and all I've got to do is probably run a battery, a little Lifey battery or something along there for that. So that little micro receiver, all that should work okay. And the other headache I had is for that expansion chamber. You remember me telling you the picture on the front of the catalogue or the manual is nothing like the real bike. And the instructions tells you to bring it out and up here. Well, if I did that, it would be over the top of the tank. So I did what I said. I've actually brought the tube down, and I've got a little elbow there and brought it up, and it kind of sits under the tank quite nice. And it's quite, if you see it, look, it's quite slim. So it fits under that quite nice. It's just resting on top of the engine, but not hard. And then I've got this little alley pipe that comes out the back. You know, none of it's all set in stone yet. It's, you know, it's a working problem. I mean, you know, all this slack everywhere, I can't stand that. So that's all going to be rectified. There's a lot of it in the top of the yoke there, and there's a lot of it in the bottom. But, you know, I think that's going to be quite a good little bike. I'm so looking forward to giving it, you know, that a run. But basically, the radio shouldn't be too much of a problem. And, you know, you think how lucky we are today to have servos that big. You know, back in the day, no wonder they had to make it so ugly and put that big seat on the back, you know. But that's, I've still got to strengthen up the spring. I need a stronger spring, and I haven't put oil in it yet. But, you know, I'm not fussed about that. It's just getting that seat on. I think the radio is going to be quite easy to set up. I'm still not sure what to do about gluing the tyres on yet. So, you know, once you glue them on, you're stuck, aren't you? If you want to change the spokes or you want to adjust the wheel. So maybe I can just sort of tack them on here and there. You know, kind of like just to start with. I mean, it's only a little OS 10. It's not like a powerhouse, you know. It's not like running 3S in the ARX. So I think, you know, if I just tack them on here and there, maybe it'll hold just for get a couple of runs out of it, you know. So I'm going to sign out now, guys. I hope you like the DWA. I kind of got it off the shelf today, and it's given me a little bit more incentive to get that up and running. I've got a decent radio to go in it, Futaba, and this one is work in progress. But today I kind of tied up my garage and got my table clear at last. And I just thought, while it's clear, because it's not often clear like this, I'll do a little video and a chat. So I'm going to sign out now, guys. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, give me the thumbs up or whatever. I'm always here, answer any questions. Oh, one more thing. Good news. My Tyre twin cylinder engine is in the country. I think it's clear custom, so I should be getting it hopefully next week. So I can't wait to, I've got an idea what I'm going to put that twin cylinder tyre in. Obviously we're going to have twin pipes and all that kind of thing out of it, and I'm really looking forward to, that's going to be my winter project. So like I say, I'm going to sign out now. Hopefully, maybe the next one I'll have a toy engine to show you, and we can go from there. So I'll see you later, guys.